Okay, there we go. We have come... welcome back, by the way. Ah! What is this thing about? Jeez! Raziel has just stumbled across more of the vampire corpses and has remarked about how... probably should have had that in this episode. Remarked about how the vampires of this time are very different than the ones he has come to know. Now, he was resurrected as a vampire around... Since we went back in time, it's really confusing to sort of refer to things as the past. Kill this friggin' dude. But the nature of vampirism that Raziel has faced is one of constant mutation, and the vampires of that he has known were ones, for the most part, were very mutated. And they had mutated quite significantly by the time he had been executed, and when he was resurrected as a wraith, vampires had mutated significantly further and were no longer things that even resembled humans at that point. So things were quite a bit different than what he had come to know, but now he's looking at these vampires, and this is a history that he has never really known. There are a lot of vampires, and there are vampires that are very human-looking in their appearance, not ugly-ass things like he has known. Open the door. What is this crap? Something else I gotta do here? Am I forgetting something? I already did that. Open the door. Open the door. There we go. Do you have to open both sides?
Pillars of Nosgoth. Pristine, whole, and uncorrupted. I had never beheld them in this undefiled state, yet something profound and indelible resonated within me at the sight. And there, waiting at the very heart of the pillars, was the canker that was destined to destroy them.
I know you're there, Raziel.
Mobius led me to you, Kain, though I might have guessed you'd meet me here.
And if Mobius told you I was hidden on the underside of hell, would you throw yourself into oblivion to pursue me? Mobius trawls for the ignorant and unwary, hauling his gasping prey from the streams of their destinies. Stay out of his net, Raziel.
Spare me your elaborate metaphors, Kain. I have pursued you here for one purpose. You will pay for your betrayal, and balance will thus be restored to Nosgoth.
And whose will is satisfied then? The will of Raziel or Mobius?
Would I be better manipulated by you, Kain? Now, turn and face me. The chase is over.
This isn't a chase, Raziel. We are merely passengers on the wheel of destiny, describing a perfect circle to this point. We've been brought here for a reason. I've seen the beginning and the end of our story, however, and the tale is crude and ill-conceived. We must rewrite the ending of it. You and I.
Face me, Kain. Even you shouldn't die a coward's death.
Isn't it customary to grant the condemned a final request?
I recall no such courtesy from you.
Indulge me, Raziel. All I ask is that you listen. This is the sublime moment of our undoing, Raziel. The ineffable fulcrum upon which swings the entirety of our history. This is where all of Nosgoth is betrayed. In this instant, Ariel, the Balance Guardian, is murdered by dark forces bent on overthrowing the Pillars. Her spirit is just now tearing free, lost in the ether, trying to find its way here. You have already seen how she comes to haunt these Pillars.
Bound here by your refusal to die. You are the reason this land becomes diseased. As long as you remain alive, you condemn Nosgoth to an eternity of decay.
Be still, Raziel. See this. As Ariel dies, I am being born to take her place as Balance Guardian. Such is my destiny.
My God.
At the moment of my first cry, Ariel's beloved, the Guardian Nutraptor, finds her corpse. Racked with grief and tormented by suspicions of treachery, Nutraptor plunges into a madness which overflows and infects all of the Guardians who are symbiotically bound, including me. The repercussions of Ariel's assassination were expertly calculated. The entire circle descends into madness, and I am tainted at the moment of my birth, instantly rendered incapable of fulfilling the role destiny has prepared for me.
Shall I show you the same mercy you showed the rest of the circle, then? You blithely murdered them to restore their pillars, yet your hand faltered when it came to the final sacrifice. What makes you exempt, Kain? You're merely the last man standing. Why condemn me for simply carrying out what you hadn't the courage to do yourself?
Let's drop the moral posturing, shall we? We both know there's no altruism in this pursuit. Your reckless indignation led you here. I counted on it. There's no shame in it, Raziel. Revenge is motivation enough. At least it's honest. Hate me, but do it honestly. 30 years hence, I am presented with a dilemma. Let's call it a two-sided coin. If the coin falls one way, I sacrifice myself and thus restore the pillars. But as the last surviving vampire in Nosgoth, this would mean the annihilation of our species. Mobius made sure of that. If the coin lands on the reverse, I refuse the sacrifice and thus doom the pillars to an eternity of collapse. Either way, the game is rigged.
We agree, then, that the pillars are crucial and must be restored.
Yes, Raziel. And that's why we've come full circle to this place.
So after all this, you make my case for me. To end this stalemate, you must die so that new Guardians can be born.
Pillars don't belong to them, Raziel. They belong to us.
Your arrogance is boundless, Kain.
There's a third option. A monumental secret, hidden in your very presence here. But it's a secret you have to discover for yourself. Unearth your destiny, Raziel. It's all laid out for you here.
You said it yourself, Kain. There are only two sides to your coin.
Apparently so. But suppose you throw a coin enough times. Suppose one day it lands on its edge.
Well, how about all that? Raziel had the opportunity to kill Kain right there, and he could have done it. He had the Reaver, he could have done it, and he probably should have. But it wouldn't necessarily have changed anything unless Raziel went out of his way to do more. Kain's survival was the problem in and of itself. Nutraptor had gone and spread the corruption of his madness to all of the Pillar Guardians, and that affected Kain as well, the baby Kain who was born moments before he was corrupted. He never really had a choice in being the evil son of a bitch that he eventually turned into. It was something that was sort of ingrained in him from his very birth. And you could say that also him turning into a vampire, being murdered, and his bitterness over that had something to do with that as well. But Kain was really somebody who was dealt a kind of a bad hand to begin with, and that was the world that he had sort of been forced to live in. But now he seems to be intent on changing his fate The thought was that all of the Pillar Guardians needed to die in order to have the Pillars restored.
I didn't know what impulse stayed my hand, why I had so willingly allowed Kain to escape me when I had pursued him for so long. I had no reason to trust Kain after he had valued me so little, and yet I found myself intrigued by his words. I had been too cruelly used to so gullibly play his pawn, but if this world truly had secrets to divulge, I was determined to expose them.
Kain would have had to die. Not just this Kain, but I imagine both him and the baby Kain would have to die, as well as Mobius and all of the other Pillar Guardians who are alive at this point in time. Ariel's already dead. So that means Neupractor would have to die, Mobius would have to die, Mortanius would have to die, and all of the other ones that I'm not going to mention right here. But Kain's talking about how, why won't this damn thing just die? How the Pillars don't belong to whatever new Guardians may be born with the, if all the Pillar Guardians were killed and they were restored, new Pillar Guardians would be born. But Kain's saying they don't belong, the Pillars don't belong to them.
From the moment of my arrival, I had the constant and palpable sensation of being watched. Someone, it seemed, was keenly interested in my presence here.
Being watched, yes. Now, Kain seems to believe that there is another option, because for whatever reason he says those birds just evaporated. That was weird. That the Pillars belong to them. Now, he didn't say him. He didn't say the Pillar belongs to him. He said the Pillar belongs to them. And he's referring specifically to vampires. Now, we're not going to go too deep into what the hell that means right now. But needless to say, Kain, one of the reasons why he didn't sacrifice himself wasn't just some selfish desire to continue living at the cost of the rest of existence. It was as he was the last of his species. Now, the death of the last vampire may not be something that brings a lot of tears to people's eyes, but it was something that he thought was a noble cause, even though ultimately it was more of a selfish desire for him to do everything that he did. But anyway, Kain has something planned, and of course, this being an early portion of the game, we have no freaking idea what that plan is. But, friggin' hell. Episode's ending.